Undocumented immigrants commit significantly less crime than native-born U.S. citizens. This is a topic that I often bring up on my live, I'm an undocumented immigrant, ask me anything. And this conclusion that undocumented immigrants commit significantly less crime has been arrived at by various independent studies that have been conducted throughout the years. And the usual response when I bring up this fact is to have accusations levied against me of being a liar. But recently, that has changed. Recently, the most common response when I talk about this fact is to have the chat light up with questions of what about Aurora, Colorado? Well, what about it? Let's talk about it. What is happening in Aurora, Colorado? In Aurora, Colorado, there is an apartment complex called Aspen Grove, and it is managed by CBZ Management, which also manages several other properties around the city. The complex was slated to be shut down after years of mismanagement, which led to unsafe living conditions. As a result of the closure, through their PR firm, CBZ Management claimed that the closure of the complex was due to gang activity related to the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua, which is alleged to have taken over the complex by force. Local police confirmed the presence of the gang in the city, but deny that they have taken over any apartment complexes, a denial they make after sending units to these properties to investigate, and finding that none of these properties were taken over by any gangs. The mayor also confirms the presence of the gang while stating that their presence is minor and not near the level of other more established street gangs in the area that have been there for decades. The city firmly states that the closure of the complex is the result of CBC's mismanagement, for which they claim to have a record of as far back as 2019, prior to the arrival of the Venezuelan migrants into the area. City spokesperson Ryan Lubby stated, "Let us be clear, the blame for this unfortunate circumstance," referring to the closure of the property and its tenants facing eviction, rests solely with CBZ Management and its principals, the owners and managers of the property, who have repeatedly failed their tenants for years by allowing the building and property to fall into a state of complete disrepair. Now, despite the fact that the city has stated that none of these apartment complexes have been taken over by gangs, despite the fact the city has stated that the apartment complexes are being closed due to being uninhabitable, despite the fact that the mayor has stated that the presence of this gang is minimal in relation to other more established gangs, there are three lawmakers that contradict the claims made by the mayor, the city, and the police, contradicting the overwhelming evidence that Tren de Aragua has not taken over the complexes in the city, and that in fact the presence is minimal. However, they have offered no evidence for their own assertions. And when asked for evidence to back up their claims that Venezuelan gangs are in fact as big of an issue as they're claiming that it is, they've simply stated that their opinions are not up for debate. And thus they continue to push this narrative that Venezuelan gangs are a prevalent problem in the city. So what's the situation in Aurora? Nothing but an exaggerated claim. An exaggerated claim fueled by social media misinformation regarding the living conditions of a complex mismanaged by slumlords. Slumlords who have attempted to distract from their own mismanagement through fear-mongering around the current immigration and border discourse. That being said, the fact remains, undocumented immigrants commit significantly less crime than native-born U.S. citizens. And this misinformation coming out of Aurora doesn't change that.